So me and my family decided to go and watch that new Disney movie, Cruella, together for a family night out. I wasn't expecting much from it, but I was willing to give it a chance. After all, how bad could it possibly be? Well, my expectations were shattered in the worst way possible. Cruella is a horrible mess of a movie, and I don't call just any movie bad. I've enjoyed most of the movies I've seen in theaters because I'm either really tolerant of stupid stuff and can stomach it, or it's just so bad it's entertaining. But this Cruella thing is in a league of its own. I've never disliked a movie so much I've wanted to make a video about it. So, it's time to express why I think it's so bad. Spoilers for the movie, by the way, if you care about watching it. First things first, I want to take a look at the original Cruella, and what made her stand out as a villain. When I think of Cruella de Vil, I envision a real monster. Not literally, but she is monstrous through her actions. Devious, immoral, maniacal, and menacing. She did all sorts of evil stuff, mostly skinning animals for their fur, as she says it's her one true love. You know, the whole fashion thing. She was irredeemable, and I love that about old-school villains in cinema. They were evil for evil's sake. No need for sympathetic backstories or the need to feel pity. A character could be liked because they were ruthlessly badass. Walking into Cruella, I was expecting a very dark film with perhaps a bad ending of sorts to match the original. Unfortunately, I did not know that this was a prequel to the original film that takes place in the 70s. Even though 101 Dalmatians took place in 1958. This is why you'd research a movie before you decide to watch it for a review. But in my defense, I didn't think I was going to dislike this movie so much I would want to make a video dissecting why it's so bad. So it can't be helped, really. Whatever, this movie isn't worth taking any notice of anyways, so I'll just consider it non-canon to the 101 Dalmatians timeline. Wow! I did not expect I was going to be saying that today. Anyways, the movie. What a mess! I'm going to be going through it play by play since I was taking note of the pros and cons I noticed during the film. And I swear to God, my phone was at 50% when I walked in that theater, and I was on it so much typing down all the bad stuff that it nearly died before the movie was even close to being over. Let's get started then. The film starts with the best thing a major motion picture can, narration. Not only that, but the narration of Cruella's birth, because it was very necessary to the story to watch that. Also, her hair is actually white and black from the womb? Like, not even dyed? Very strange. I always thought her hair was like that as a fashion statement, like she chose for both sides to be different, I guess. I don't know. And of course, because she looks different, she gets bullied because having weird hair is a sin against God in Britain. But then she ends up becoming a Mary Sue in her school years, and I already hate this movie. Yes, she does get bullied, but she doesn't learn her lesson or anything. She just bitches back. I'd say even worse. And it doesn't make me think, wow, this girl is really tough. It makes me think, wow, Cruella was kind of a shithead as a kid. But they expect you to root for her? The whole movie they try to paint Cruella as misunderstood with how rebellious she is, and combining that with the black and white hair, the first thing that came to my mind was, I'm 14 and this is deep. Anyways, it introduces the theme of men bad very quick, as almost every male character in this movie is either a clumsy oaf, mentally handicapped, or ridiculously and unrealistically evil. So that was a nice overdone trope to bear through again. A little bit later into the movie, they finally give a reason as to why Cruella is so evil in the first place. Now, you're gonna want to be sitting for this. Well, it would be weird if you were standing watching this. Anyways, she hates Dalmatians because Dalmatians killed her mom. Of course they did! Not only does this bitch have ravenous Dalmatians as guard dogs, but they go with the dead parents trope as well. This feels like something that would be in a parody. To be fair, it isn't portrayed as hatred in this version, more like fear. She didn't even actually hate Dalmatians in the original movie, but it does feel like it leans more towards hatred later into the original film. Anyways, once her mom dies, she runs away and meets her two goons from the original movie, Jasper and Horace. And I can promise you that I do not remember which is which. Anyways, they skip 10 whole years because, yeah, those years weren't important. They wouldn't have made for any interesting scenes for the movie at all. But I'm not complaining that they left stuff out because this movie drags on. It's over 2 hours! And it feels even longer because of how the movie is shot. There are so many moments where they'll linger on a moment trying to be deep and emotional, but it's just padding out the film with this ridiculousness. I've never had my little brother lean over to me in the theater and ask, when does it end before? Only with this movie has that ever happened. So, there you go, Cruella. You can have that luxury. This movie could have been like 45 minutes shorter if they trimmed down the useless parts, which are everywhere. Now I want to talk about the cast. Please. Just one interesting character, I'm begging you. I'm not trying to bash the actors, they did the best with what they were given. I have to admit they play up the British accent in a really obnoxious way for some characters, though. And the same characters happen to have a lot of screen time, so it gets really annoying in scenes with those characters in there. let's go through most of the important people in the film. You have the main character, so deep and misunderstood and cool. Then you have the first gay character in a Disney movie with a record 4 lines. You have a silly amount of ridiculously malicious villains that you can't take seriously at all. And then there's the 2 best characters in the film, who are funny, but not really interesting. Also Mark Strong, who is a plus for this movie because Mark Strong. All of the main cast feel like bootleg versions of more famous and liked characters. Cruella feels like a more posh and sociopathic version of Harley Quinn, and I'm not just saying that because they're played by the same actress. Jasper and Horace are just stupider wet bandits. The main villain, the Baroness, just feels like another evil stepmother type, and so on and so forth. The story of the movie kind of feels like a worse version of Ratatouille. That's not something I thought, but my older brother said. And I don't know how to explain what he meant. I just know that I agree with him. Now that I think about it, this movie feels like the good parts of a lot of different movies taped together and just magically made worse. Now, I have some gripes with Cruella's character. Is she supposed to be likable? 'Cause she isn't. For the first half of the movie, she's just a walking piece of cardboard that gets bullied to a humorous degree, but they expect you to feel bad for her instead of laughing. Then, halfway through the movie, she just starts acting like a dick to her friends, and then later on, they make a half-assed attempt at giving her a redemption arc when she finds out who her real mother is, a really unsurprising excuse for a twist, by the way, and everyone just moves on like everything's okay. I am fuming at this film. Why is Cruella so mean? I can't believe Cruella would act like that. Oh, Cruella! I get it. And another thing, they made a really good outfit for her, but then they wasted it by only having that outfit worn for like 5 minutes of the movie. Speaking of the outfits, seeing all the awful dresses everyone makes in this movie makes me hate what people call fashion. Don't get me wrong, I'm no fashionista, hell, I can hardly dress myself, but I know for certain that 90% of the dresses in this movie are tacky as hell. Speaking of tacky, the soundtrack. 4/5 of the songs in this film are copyrighted music, and every track is either barely in the movie, inappropriately placed, or too distracted from the actual visuals. You know you don't need music to force emotion on a scene. If you add music where it doesn't need to be, it can distract from something that the scene might be trying to convey, or it might take the emotion out of a scene entirely. This film has too much music in it, and all they did was look up a playlist of 70s music and just picked randomly. A ton of the movie's scenes could have had more punch if they had made more original tracks that fit the scenes more accurately, or if some scenes just didn't have any music at all. The ending kinda pissed me off. They had this whole fake-out death scene about an hour and a half in, and I was really surprised. If they had ended this movie on a somber note, like the protagonist dying, I would have respected it so much more. Hardly any movies nowadays have bad endings. But no, Disney didn't have the balls. The real ending is bullshit, it's just a rehashing of Monsters, Inc. It just feels like a really bad Lupin the Third parody, since the story is more about thievery than actual dog skinning. Which doesn't actually happen in the movie? Like, wasn't it the whole point that Cruella was all evil and stuff? Cruella, people. Cruel! Think, Disney, think! Now, the CG. Wow. Most of the dogs in the movie were CG, and it was so obvious that it was distracting. It's genuinely easy to tell when a dog is real or not in a shot, which they barely are, by the way. For a film so focused on animals, they all look so uncanny. Honestly, my eyes glazed over about halfway through and I was just disassociating waiting for it to be over. For a movie with a $150 million budget, the effects sure do suck. I have a sneaking suspicion that this movie might not turn a profit. Also, one more thing. Converse? Really? Disney didn't even have the gall to research time-appropriate clothing? Disney has really reached a new low. I'm getting tired of this. Wait, what? Oh. So I guess it is accurate. So that's why they made this movie take place in the 70s, so they can make the misunderstood rebellious girl with multicolored hair wear the funny popular shoes. I hate this movie. Now then, was there anything I actually liked about this thing? Surprisingly, there are a few things. I like the settings. Old Britain do be kinda cool. Horace and Jasper got a couple chuckles out of me. Mostly the fat one. The Cruella design is tolerable. And I like the newspaper aesthetic they start adding in when Cruella starts doing wacky shit and gaining traction. There are also a few other cool shots, but it isn't enough to save this garbage. There's a whole elaborate plan that gets set up towards the end, and I will admit, it's kinda cool. But that's really all I can give to this movie. It's like if a dog ate some wet dog food with some cookies mixed in, and then shat it out. Yes, you do have some good bits in there, but at the end of the day, it's still dog shit. Honestly, if I think about this movie taking place from Cruella's perspective, it makes me like it a tiny bit more. Because of how messed up she is in the head, it makes sense how exaggerated everything is, and how the movie tries to make you feel sympathetic for the crazy Taylor. Oh, who am I kidding? Of course it's from her perspective, because she never stops narrating. Shut up! Oh my god! So yeah, basically this movie is a bundle of cliches and frustrating plot points with some funny British accents thrown in for color. I tried giving this movie a chance, but it's not even funny bad. I give Cruella an F. They failed movie class and will be repeating this school year. Anyways, I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. My name is Goose, and I thank you very much for watching. Go away.
Hello, it's Goose's brother here. Goose is Gee's brother here to explain why Ratatouille is like Cruella. So picture this, a broke person is looking for a job. They manage to get into a very classy place and start working there. They're seen as the lowest of the low and just dismissed at all points. But then they show off their talents right in front of a critic, where they're then shown to be amazing and they get promoted out of nowhere. Just like, boom, you're the owner. Boom, you're going to a different place. So it was basically like that. And what Goose was saying about how it's like Monsters, Inc. is that at the end of almost every Pixar movie, the villain reveals that they're the villain in front of cameras or in front of a microphone, and it's just revealed to everyone, and then they're taken away. That happens in almost every single Pixar movie. It happened in Coco, it happened in Monsters, Inc. I can't remember what else it happened in. I'm burping. But that's what I remember it for. Anyways, that happened in this movie. Now go away.